welcome to the For Fun of Knit podcast. My name is Linda and I'm coming to you from the sunny southeast coast of Ireland. So welcome to everyone. If this is your first time watching, thank you for giving my channel a little view. And for those of you who are returning, big hug to all of you. We've had so much fun over the last month or so. If you did not know, at the beginning of February, I did 15 vlogs on 14 cast-ons in February. The last episode was a wrap-up. I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the participation, the wonderful comments, the great conversation that we had. It was such a blast. Now, this is actually episode 74, take 2. I actually filmed a whole segment, I did a whole video on the 28th of February, hoping to get it with that 2-week timeline I'd set for myself, and technology failed me. For some reason, parts of my voice did not come across on the segments, which is very strange because I'm not a quiet person. But for some reason it didn't work. So my apologies for being a few days late, but it doesn't matter. This is March, a brand new month and a great opportunity for some more fiber fun. So my March sort of theme is making and mending in March. And that is very specific because I don't know about anybody else, but I have just let all my mending type of things to do with my sweaters and garments just pile up. So I'm going to talk about that at the end of the podcast, but I have several projects that I need to either mend or alter slightly that I just wanted to review with you, because for some reason, if I put it on a video, I tend to do it. Hopefully. So the agenda today is talking about WIPs. I have no finished objects today. Does that surprise anyone, given that I cast on 14 projects? I want to do a WIP update, obviously, and then we're going to spin the wheel for the next round of projects that I'm going to cast on. I have to full confession, did I do a wheel turn a week ago Sunday? No, I did not. 1 week was not enough for me to actually progress in any of my projects. So I kind of figure maybe 2 weeks is a good benchmark to go on. And then again, I'll get into some of that conversation as well, because it's a little bit more challenging than I thought it was. But definitely want to do a quick wheel review and then select 2 more projects to work on. And after that, I have new acquisitions. Sorry, I had to think about it. I haven't had any acquisitions in so long. I have a few acquisitions because my friend Susan from Wild Cottage Knitting podcast, she lives in County Clare. Her and I met on Monday, March 1st, and we went to Hedgehog Fibers and we went to Stolen Stitches and popped into Vibes and Scribes in Cork. So I drove to Cork, she trained to Cork, we met up, we had a fabulous day. So I want to show you a little footage of that, as well as just the acquisitions, which were, not huge, but they're lovely. So let's get right to it. So what am I wearing? Okay, so this is the Hazel Jumper by Irene Lynn. I'll put a picture up here. And just so that you can see, I'm wearing a white t-shirt underneath so that you can see the lace in its beautiful glory. It is a lovely, fully laced garment, long sleeved, boxy fit. If I can step back just a bit, perhaps you can see, sorry, I'm in my podcasting track pants. It's very oversized, very boxy. I have knit this in a new to me yarn at the time, which was, it was Rico yarns, and I think it's called Love Madly, which is an alpaca, predominantly alpaca wool and a little bit of acrylic. And it's a very lofty, it's in lieu of getting, a let lopi type of, or a Pluto lopi type of fiber. So it gives the same sort of lightweight sweater that you would get from an unspun yarn, but it is lovely. Has a very nice feel, not scratchy at all. That little bit of acrylic really softens everything else up. And the alpaca that they use, it's baby alpaca. So it doesn't have any of the guard hairs in it, which is another benefit of this yarn. And the price point was really reasonable. I think it was, I don't know, $12 a skein if I'm not mistaken. And I used 4 skeins in this particular garment. And I lengthened the sleeves. I like my sleeves nice and long. It is a very comfortable to wear sweater. The neckline was much wider when I finished it. It probably came out to about here. So I did have to crochet the neckline in. Yeah, for me, it was just way too wide. And that is the pattern. That is the pattern. When you look at the pictures, her neckline is right out here. But for me, I like it a little bit tighter. Not tight, but a little bit brought in. So that was the only modification I made to the whole pattern. That said, I am warring between keeping it and thrifting it. I am not too sure. And it is not the pattern. I will knit this pattern again. It is a beautiful pattern. It is easy to follow. The lace is so intuitive and repetitive, and you just get into a groove, and it's very motivating. I think it's the color. I have this war with myself all the time. You guys tell me. But I don't think it's the best color on me. I know that from a color fashion perspective, I'm a cool winter. All the jewel tones, black, white, silver, fuchsia, emerald green, sapphire blues, you know, just the really bold jewel tones really look good on me. And I feel good in them. But what I like is the autumnal colors for some strange reason. So I like the classic colors like navy blue, yay. But I love copper and or cinnamon. I love all the greens, except for sage greens, but I like the olive greens, the moss greens, the, you know, those really vibrant forest greens. Yeah, I like all the autumnal colors, not yellows, but, and reds. I like blue reds. I'm kind of in between. But this color, I'm digressing. This color, I'm not 100% sure does anything for me. And I also think the weight of the yarn, so there's 2 issues. One is the color, and 2 is the weight of the yarn. I think for this sweater, just the way it looks on me, because it's a drop shoulder, I don't know that this yarn has enough weight. It's, I don't know what it is. I feel a little frumpy in it. And I don't know if it's the style, and I don't think it's the style. Maybe I should have made it a little bit longer, because it's just a little bit too cropped to do a French tuck. So maybe that's what the issue is. Maybe I should have just done it a little bit longer, but because the drop shoulder seems to work for me. I've got several shoulders that are drop shouldered, but I just seem to feel a little frumpy in it. And I think it might be the color. So anyway, that's where it is. But this is the Irene Lynn Hazel Jumper, and the pattern I absolutely love. And I love making my sleeves really long. So when my arms are hanging down, my sleeves to about here. But when I hold it up, see, I'm not getting this naked, I'm not getting a naked arm. I'm getting a nicely covered arm. I have to say, this is very cozy yarn. Very cozy yarn. Excuse me, need a sip of decaf coffee. So that is what I am wearing. Yay, I remembered to cover it off at first. I keep forgetting that. Anyway, so for those of you that were with me through the Fab 14 in February, where I did all those cast-ons and then created all these wheels to manage all my cast-ons. I didn't spin the first one. I knew which patterns I wanted to work on. And the first pattern I wanted to work on was what I have been calling the Lumme by Sari Nordland. I'll put a picture. But somebody in the notes told me that it's actually, the US is like yum. It's an ah sound. So it might be the Lumme. Lumme instead of the Lumme. So whichever version it is, here is how far I got in the 2 weeks. Oh my goodness, look at this. I am just tickled pink. This is how far I have gotten in 2 weeks, because I stopped knitting it on Friday. I haven't knit on this since Friday. I haven't been doing too much. I'll tell you what else I've been knitting on, but this is my Lumme to date. Oh, I am so excited on how this is turning out. The yarns I'm using is the Sweet Paprika Aran Weight in 100% superwash merino. This is a deep stash from 2018, I think, in the color Dark Roast, which is this beautiful dark coffee bean color. And it is just there. That looks about right. That looks about right. As well as I am using this Gleisk tweed, which is, can you see that? Gleisk tweed. It is a Danish brand yarn made in Ireland. So I think what it is the wool is shipped to Ireland. They mill it here in Ireland, and then they put some neps in it. So it is a tweed. It's got some very faint yellow, gray, and blue tweed in it. You cannot see it actually. But I'm holding this double, and that is the color work portion. And so as far as the yarn is concerned, I am loving how these two are working together. Now let me talk a little bit about what I have done with this sweater. So I am notoriously famous for making necklines that are way too big. So this time I was very conscious on casting on the smallest size of the sweater. Because I wanted, this is superwash, I know it's going to stretch. It was a folded neck, so I knew that would hold it in, and it is 1x1 ribbing, which I did in half twisted rib. And then I folded it over and I seamed it. I knit it together with the next row, and then I did another row where I then increased the stitches to match what the size 5 sweater should be. And the reason I did a size 5 was that was a little bit more ease than I wanted, but I knew that my gauge was a little bit smaller for some reason. No, the reason was I think I'm using a size smaller needle. That could be why. So needless to say, first thing I did, which is not in the pattern, is I did short rows in the back. So from the center back, I knit 12 rows, did a German wrap, turned my work, purled back to the center marker, then purled 12, then did a German wrap, turned it around, knit all the way back to my German short row. I knit the 2 strands together, and then I did 6 more stitches, and then did a German wrap and turn and came back. And I did that back and forth until I got basically to the front of the shoulders. And so I have about 6 rows of 7 rows. Yeah, 6 or 7 rows of a short rows in the back just to drop the neck, because I knew it was going to be quite a fitted neck and I just didn't want it to sit right at my Adam's apple. So that is what I did for this. Then I did my color work, and I do not catch my floats. So full disclosure, I do not catch my floats, and this is what my floats all look like. And I didn't go up a needle size. I stayed at the 4.5 millimeter needle size for my color work, because I find that I do not knit color work in a sweater tightly. I'm quite loose. I am I'm a thrower, English style. And so on my right needle, I always spread my stitches. And then when I knit the next stitch, I spread my stitches on my right hand needle, and then I will wrap my yarn around and knit the stitch. And because I've stretched the stitches apart, on my right hand needle, my floats are nice and evenly spaced and loose. They're not tight at all. Sorry, I've got fuzz or something. So I did not have to go up a needle size. If I'm knitting socks and doing color work, 100% I have to go up a needle size. So then I knit all the way. The increases in this yoke pattern are done when you are doing a row of your master color, your main color. So when it got to here, I wasn't really going to do this motif. I was going to switch it out for the leaf, but then I thought, no, I should be true to the pattern. It's all about lilies apparently. So I am going to stay with the original pattern, which I did. But this row right here, you see this, the dark roast rows, there's 2 rows here. They are the last increase row. Now, when I got to here, I thought, you know what, this yoke is looking pretty big. I don't necessarily want to, because this is my gauge swatch, folks. This is my gauge swatch. The nice thing about a top-down circular yoke is you get to try it on and you can figure out the sizing as you go for most patterns, not all. Excuse me. But the other thing I thought I should do is I should block it at that point just to make sure, because this is superwash yarn. This is not superwash. So I didn't know how the 2 of them were going to work together. So I thought I should probably block it, wet block it, just make sure that I wasn't getting too large, and that would help me determine whether or not to do the last set of increases. Well, as it turns out, it was plenty big. I did not need to do the last set of increases. So I only increased 2 stitches in this round to make it size 4. So remember, I cast on starting as a size 5, but when I got down to the last set of increases, which would have been all the stitches for the size 5, I didn't need them. So I ended up just adding 2 stitches to make it the size 4, and so the pattern repeats would work. And then I continued in a size 4. So I did that. What else did I do? I split for the sleeves. Oh, one thing about the wet blocking, and I don't know if this is good or bad or not, but this yarn is a non-superwash. It is a sport weight and it's a tweed, and I held it double, right, to get the same Aran sort of weight. But I don't know if you can see it. I wet blocked it and they did not blend together. I thought they would. To me, the pattern looks a little bit jaggy, like a little bit jiggy-jaggy on the edges around the flowers, because this yarn really didn't bloom the way I thought it would. So they didn't really blend together. They really have, even if I look at it close, they still have kept as 2 separate strands. So, you know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose when you hold 2 yarns together when you're trying to change the weight of a yarn, but I still love it. I am not concerned with that at all. It's just, it looks more like a dot matrix version of this pattern. It's not as smooth, and this yarn isn't as plump as the superwash. Doesn't matter. I love it anyway. Anyway, so I split for sleeves and I put them on holders. And then I always do about 4 inches of the body once I've split for sleeves, and then I go back and I do the sleeves. And I do this for 2 reasons. One, and it really depends. Some people will be different about this for sure. But for me, the sleeve length is extremely important. And I want to have a full length sleeve on this particular sweater. But when I put sleeves on, it does tend to change the way the sweater hangs and how it fits, how the body fits. By putting sleeves on at this point, I can try the sweater on after I've put on the sleeves, and I can move around in the sweater. I can lift my arms up, stretch them forward, make sure my sleeves are long enough as I'm moving the sweater, but also it will help me gauge how long the body really should be before I put on the ribbing. Because sometimes you'll do the whole body of the sweater, do the ribbing, then put on the sleeves, and this whole sweater rides up when you lift your arms. And so you kind of think, oh, maybe I should have made my sweater longer. So in order to avoid that mistake, I like to do the sleeves first. So that's one reason. The other reason I would do the sleeves first is if I were playing yarn chicken. Now I'm not, in this case, I've got plenty of yarn, but if I was playing yarn chicken, I would definitely want to do the sleeves first, because for me, the sleeve length is very important. I'm not really a 3/4 length sleeve or bracelet sleeve person. I like a full sleeve. So when I'm bending my arms, lifting my arms up, I don't want it to ride past my wrist. I like my sleeves when they're hanging down to be right about here. That's just me. If sleeves are not a big deal and you're happy with 3/4 length sleeves, then you wouldn't be a problem. But those are the two reasons I tend to go to the sleeves first. Now, when I do my sleeves, I am using the 4.5mm needle, so the same needle I've knit the whole sweater with, to cast on the sleeve stitches. But once I've cast on the sleeve stitches, I'm going to switch to a 5mm needle. I'm going to go to a 5mm needle on shorties. And why I do that is because when I knit in the circular, in the round, in a small circumference using my shorties, I tend to be tighter in my gauge. I don't know why. So I am going to go to a 5, and when it comes to the color work, I might go to a 5.5. It depends, because I won't have enough needle to actually do that stretching of the stitches trick that I do. So I might have to go up yet another needle size when it comes to the color work on the sleeves. But this, I hope you can see the beautiful variegated, or tonal, I guess it is, between the medium brown and the dark, dark black brown of the coffee bean. This is truly a dark roast color. I think they named it really well, but I love it. And see, this color, this dark color, I think looks really good on me. It is a gray toned, a cool toned brown, not a warm tone. So this to me really pops. I love it. So that is my Lumme, I don't know how you say it, but that is WIP number 1. WIP number 2 is this beauty right here. So you all know this story. You all know about this sweater. I hope you can see it. I think what I'm gonna do is turn my camera around, or maybe I'll just actually, bear with me. I'm gonna bring my camera forward and just adjust it a little bit so that you can see this. Okay, so I'll get out of the picture. Okay, so this is the Le Berger de France. I think it's a 1980s pattern, and it's called the button neck sweater. And this sweater saga began in 2019. Patrick picked out the pattern. It was discontinued. I went on Ravelry asking if anybody had ever knit the sweater, and somebody sent me the pattern. I've got pieces of wood in my sweater, pieces of hay. And somebody sent me the pattern. Yay. So the first time I knit this sweater, I did the entire sweater, and I did it in Brooklyn Tweed Quarry, which was a chunky weight, bulky weight yarn. Well, this is one of the first things I ever knit, and so I didn't really appreciate how changing the yarn weight might change the sweater. It's a DK pattern. It's a DK weight pattern. So it is half fisherman's rib. It is originally knit completely flat. It's got this beautiful double collar in a 2x2 rib. And then it's got these plackets that is also double. You'll get a placket here and a placket on the other side, and there will be 3 buttons and 3 buttonholes. So I am just at the point where I am doing the button plackets. And then after that, all I have to do is measure the sleeves on Patrick to make sure, because I have knit the sleeves flat to the point where I think I have to now start shaping them for the armholes, the arm side. But couple of things with this sweater. So now you see it. I'm just in love with this. This is cashmere, by the way, against his neck. And what I'm going to do is the back side of this placket, I'm now switching yarns, and the back side is going to be cashmere, and I'll sew it all in, and it will be cashmere on the inside of this one. So this is what's going to be touching his neck. not this, which is a different yarn. But anyway, I started it in Quarry, Brooklyn Tweed Quarry, and I think you can all guess what happened. I'm going to now come back into the frame. Sorry for all the jiggling. This is my really high-tech video skills. As you can imagine, what happened is the sweater was way too big, way too big. Oh, it was way too big and way too heavy and too dense a fabric. It was stiff because I was using the same needle size, but using a chunky yarn in a half fisherman's rib, and I knit it flat and I seamed it all together, and it was just so wrong. He had these shoulder pads coming out here. It was way too long. It was like a suit of armor. It was so thick. It was just completely wrong. So I frogged that, gave the yarn away. And then I bought Barocco. This is Drops Charisma, which is a lovely yarn. It's 100% superwash wool. I thought I was buying non-superwash wool, but it's superwash. Didn't know that. But it's DK weight in the same, almost the same color as the original sweater. Yay. And I reknit the whole thing, but here's where I have made some weird decisions. So I decided, why knit it flat when you can knit it in the round? Okay, this is half fisherman's rib, so it didn't occur to me that half fisherman's rib in the round might look just a little bit different than half fisherman's rib knit back and forth, like flat. So you might not be able to see it in this lighting, but right about here where I knit all of this in the round, nice and loose and very brioche. And then right about here, I have to, when I split for the sleeves, to do then the front panels in the back, I had to knit flat. My gauge, totally different, much tighter, not as brioche. So I am hoping the blocking is going to help with that. Then I decided I was going to do the sleeves at the same time, and I knit them flat. Why? Because originally I thought, well, what I could do is just pick up stitches and then knit the sleeves. But then I thought, no, my stitches will be upside down. I can't do that. That will look really weird. So instead, I've opted to knit it flat, have a totally different gauge than the body of the sweater. This is my brilliance. And now I have to do some sort of funky math to try and figure out what my decrease rate has to be to fit my sleeve without, coming to a sharp point. I have to come to a nice sort of rounded edge so I can fit all this in this and hope to God it all works. So I am so close to being finished. I am so close. This is my 6-year saga sweater. It is going to get finished. And I know it's going to get finished because a week ago, when I was talking to my peeps in Vancouver, they challenged me to finish this in 2 weeks because I keep procrastinating. So when I was talking to them, I had not done either panel in the front, nor had I done the collar. So in a week, I've done 2 front panels and the collar, which is double, and now I'm working on the button bands. So I am pretty impressed with myself that I got that done. And that was not part of my Fab 14, and it's not on a wheel, but it is a priority knit and I have to get it done. So those are the 2 main projects that I was working on. The third project that I just was not on my wheel spin, I didn't spin a wheel last time, so I guess that's unfair to say. But the other project that I was working on in between those 2, which are pretty significant knits, I was working on my everyday, my Summer Lee Thanksgiving socks, which is just a wonderful palette cleanser, potato chippy socks that I am turning. I was going to make them into house socks, but I'm loving the thick texture because I'm holding 3 yarns together and it's coming out really thick and woolly. So now I'm making them welly boot socks, like your rain boot socks, Wellingtons. I think they call them wellies. So I need, and they're never lined. They don't have any, thermal heating. So I'm making these socks nice and tall so I can wear them in my Wellingtons, because you need to have those when you're in Ireland. because it does rain on occasion. So I am just taking scrap yarn and I am doing basically 15 rows and then I'm marling it all the way. And so this is what I've gotten so far. And they have there's no rush to finish those. There's no agenda. They're just a nice palette cleanser when I've had enough of everything else. That was it for my works in progress. And now it's time to choose what I'm going to be knitting on for the next week or two. So this I will continue to work in the background, but now I'm going to pick 2 other projects from the garment wheel. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, my Fab 14 in February was 14 vlogs with a 15th wrap up, but every day for 14 days in February, I cast on a new project. Yay. I had a spinning wheel with all the projects I was going to cast on, and the spinning wheel chose what I was casting on for that day. Well, I loved that so much, and we all had so much fun with it that I decided to continue with the spinning wheels. So this is Spin the Wheel Random Picker. It is a free app on the App Store. And I now have a wheel for choosing the garments that I might work on. I have a wheel for choosing some of the accessories I might work on. I have wheels within the wheels, but we're not going to get too complicated with that. This is the garment wheel. So I want to pick 2 garments that I'm going to work on for the next week. So let us spin. Actually, you know what? No, we're going to change that. I'm going to choose, no, I said 2. We're going to choose 2. That's what the original plan was. So it's spinning. The agave, yay! Okay, that is lovely. Do I have that? Let me go get it 1 second and I'll be right back. Okay, the agave is in my little project bag because I haven't gotten far with it, but I will put a picture of the agave. It is a Yumiko Alexander pattern. And Yumiko Alexander has her own yarn company that is predominantly in silks, and it's called Dando. But the agave is a beautiful bottom-up knit on, I do believe, 6mm needles. I'm doing it, I can't remember what I'm doing it on. I'll put it down on the screen because I think I've gone down a needle size for this one. I can't remember, but hang on a second. I am using Sanis Garn Lena, which is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and a 13 or 14% linen, something like that. And it's a worsted weight yarn. And this is what I did during the Fab 14 in February. I did 1 full pattern repeat of either the front or the back. You just knit 2 panels. This is actually the front, pardon me, because the back does not have the pattern going all the way to the bottom. So this is the front where you get this very simplified lace work, that you do. Now I'm going to start a second panel and it will be the same lace work, and then it starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's only on the one side. On the back, the pattern starts halfway up. So on the front, you get this sort of little lift in the hemline. In the back, you won't. It'll just be quite straight. Now, this is meant to be nicely oversized, very drapey and summery. And I am knitting it in the color straw. So yellow is not in my wheelhouse at all, but I'm liking it. And I know that during the summertime, I will get a lot of use out of this color. And hopefully with a little bit of a, a little bit of a sun-kissed look, this color might not look too bad on me. So yay, I'm happy to see how far I can get on the agave. It's a simple knit compared to these two. Whew, it is a much more simple knit. So we'll have to see how I do on that one. So that's for the next 2 weeks. Let's do one more. What else am I going to work on? Oh my gosh, the doodles. Yay! Let me get that one. Kind of make you wonder if somewhere in the back of these apps, AI is kind of doing something. And the reason I say that is I absolutely need to knit on my summer knits. But why did it choose 2 summer knits when I have all those other patterns? Like, does it know it's summer? Have they put that in the app somewhere and they kind of know that these are summer patterns? Or is it just 100% coincidence? I don't know. But I'll put a picture somewhere about where the doodles. This is my second time making the doodles. And so I'm going to show you in one night how far I got. Sorry, you're going to hear clicking of needles because everything's on needles. But I am using Shibui Staccato in the color Apple. And I'm holding it double because this is a DK weight, no, it's a worsted weight pattern, pardon me, and it's 2 strands held together. Because sometimes you're knitting with 2 strands and sometimes you're knitting with 1 strand. So it's completely different, and it is very similar construction to the agave in that it is just 2 panels, front and back, and then you seam them together. They're exactly the same panel, so you do it twice. You get a choice of different lengths, and I haven't decided what length I'm doing yet, but this is how far I got. This is how far I got so far. This is the top, and you can see the texture. It's just a lot of garter, but sometimes it's 2 strands, sometimes it's 1 strand, sometimes you're doing eyelets, sometimes you're doing some slip stitch work, but this is fabulous. And then when it opens up, you can see that it's a little bit translucent. Once it opens up, maybe you can't see it, but it is. It's a little bit translucent. And this is going to be just lovely. Again, oversized, drapey. This to me is more of a mid-season knit because of the weight of it. This and the composition of the yarn. This is a little bit tighter knit. The yarn I'm using is 70% merino, 30% silk. Is that what it is? Let me just read this to make sure that I am correct, because it is staccato. Is it telling me? Oh, that doesn't tell me. Where is my... So there's the Shibui Staccato with the label. And it is actually 70% merino, 30% silk. Yes, I was correct. But when you hold them together, I mean, it's quite substantial. And so to me, this is more of a, you know, the shoulder seasons kind of a knit. It's gonna be nice and warm, and I'm just debating whether I do long sleeves on this one or short sleeves. I am undecided. My agave is definitely going to be the short sleeves, but this one, I don't know. I might do long sleeves and just make it sort of a transitional piece. But I am so excited that these are the 2 that I get to work on. So yay me. So far, I'm loving this wheel thing. But like I said, I cannot do a spin the wheel every week. I won't make any progress on anything. And so this one is going to get parked now for a while. If I need a palette cleanser, then I will continue knitting on it. But otherwise, my focus is to finish this and these 2. And I haven't even touched my wheels for all my accessories, and I'm not going to, because I'm not going to overwhelm myself. So I know I said I was going to do 2 garments and then one of my other projects and then, you know, blah, blah, blah. But no, it's a little overwhelming. Nope, not going to do that. And so that is it for the works in progress and for the knitting part of it. But now I'm going to show you just a little bit of the video, and this is short, just of the 2 shops that we went to, Hedgehog Fibers and Stolen Stitches. We had such a fabulous time there, and then I will show you my acquisition from those stores. hope you enjoyed that little teeny weeny sneak peek of those two stores. But let's start with Hedgehog Fibers. So, okay, total on a whim purchase. I purchased this puzzle, and I purchased it because I love doing puzzles, but I also thought this would be a wonderful piece of art in my craft room. So yay, a piece of art, and I get to puzzle. I can't go wrong. What I did buy there though, oh, I'm just loving this, and I will try and find the pattern that we saw in the showroom. The thing I loved about the showroom was their sample rack in all their different fibers with different weights, and a lot of the patterns that they had knit up in their yarns were very lofty. And so I chose this new to me yarn, which is called Alpaca Boucle, and it is 66% alpaca and 34% silk. It knits up like a DK, if I'm not mistaken, and I bought Heartbreaker. I bought 2 skeins of this beautiful, beautiful Alpaca Boucle. Sorry, my lighting's getting really bad right about now. And I am going to knit that sweater wherever I put it. If I can find a picture of it. I don't even know what it's called. I'll have to look at my own video because I think I actually took a picture of it. I'm not too sure. But that was the first store. The second store was Carol Feller's Stolen Stitches shop. And I have to give Carol Feller a shout out, because she has really been championing Irish wool. And the history in Ireland, you would think Ireland would be full of wool. It's not. It is full of wool, yes, but not fine knitting wool. The wool in Ireland has traditionally been used for making rugs and really, durable fishermen's sweaters, like the Aran sweaters. And the wool's quite scratchy. It's quite tough. So a lot of the industry folks have been working with the mills trying to get a finer spin on the yarn to make it a little bit softer, more pliable, and they've been doing a wonderful job. And Donegal on the West Coast is famous for their yarns and the Donegal sheep breed. And you see a lot of Donegal tweed, that type of thing, but generally speaking, it's quite rustic. They are now refining their milling and spinning techniques and coming up with some beautiful yarns. And Carol Feller has been a huge supporter of all of that. And so one of the yarns that I bought a sweater's quantity of Solus, which is, dun, 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 dun. What is this? This is 93% merino and 3.5% cashmere and 3.5% silk. And it is spun by Donegal Yarns. So this is not, here I talk about Irish breeds. This particular one is not Irish wool. I do have other Irish wool, but this is called Solus, and it's in this blackberry tweed color. Love, love, love. This is a new base for me. I've never knit in this, and it is non-superwash merino, which is fabulous. Now, merino is not Irish wool, so I will show you another Irish wool that is Irish, but not on today's podcast. But this is a beautiful, beautiful spun yarn, and I think the tweedy bits are pink and blue. Yeah, hot pink, light pink, blue. Absolutely beautiful. I hope you can see that color in there. Oh, that's a good rendition of it. And it's called Blackberry. So love this. Happy to support her in her work. That was fabulous. The last thing that I bought she had a wonderful selection of buttons. Why buttons? Because I needed buttons, and this is a good segue into my mending in March. But I bought a selection of these buttons, all in these beautiful, slightly different shades of pearlescent pink. And I have a very specific idea in mind for these, which I'm just about to share with you. I also bought some leather buttons, beautiful leather buttons, and the leather is kind of, woven over each other for Patrick's sweater. I swore they were black. When I looked in the shop, they looked completely black, but they're not, they're brown. And so that's not gonna go well with his sweater. I'm gonna put them on for the time being. They're a super, super dark, dark, dark brown, but they're brown. I thought they were black. And they don't come in black. So now I gotta go hunting for a whole different set of buttons, but oh well, that's it. Okay, so now on to mending in March. Like I said before, I can't be the only person who just puts everything that needs to be mended off to the side and hope I get to it someday. Well, now I'm putting it in place. I want to get things mended, and some of them are so silly. I've got 5 pairs of socks. So I've got 2 pairs of socks where I just haven't woven in the ends. I've worn them, but I haven't woven in the ends. That's one thing. I have a pair of socks where I have dropped a stitch in the leg, and I need to fix that. I wore them and then found out that, oh, I dropped a stitch. I better fix that. Then I have a pair of socks, and don't ask me, this is a relatively new pair of socks. I have worn these socks like twice, and I have worn through, look at that. You can see the color. I have worn through both heels. So I'm thinking that the contrast color mini that I picked out of my stash, look at that, worn right out, that I picked out of my stash was not sock yarn. It must have just been 100% merino, superwash merino, and it does not wear well on heels. So I am thinking I am going to have to re-knit the whole heel on these. So I'm going to have to pick up stitches. Wasn't planning on doing that, picking up stitches and re-knitting those. Now, I say I'm going to mend in March. I'm not going to get to all of this because this is a lot of mending. This particular pair of socks, which were the Rumple socks from Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears, I think in Spain a moth got to it because I can't explain that hole right in the middle of my sock. I do not have moths anywhere. I have checked my entire stash a million times. This happened back in Vancouver. But no, so that looks to me like a moth got it, but I have had no other moth damage on anything else. So it must, lucky me, I think it was a one-off. But I do check my yarn regularly. I rotate it. I've got all sorts of techniques to make sure I don't have any issues. But then I also have some garments that I would like to eventually fix. So for example, I have my beautiful St. Patty's Day love note, which I can wear. It is super cropped. I made it too cropped. It needs to be 2 inches longer. So I need to undo the hem. And this is mohair, so it needs to go in the freezer first, but I need to literally undo the hem or cut off the hem and just re-knit the bottom. And I still have some yarn left, thank goodness, but it needs a good 2 inches. So that is something I never wear it because it's just way too cropped. And I don't have a dress that would suit that at this point. I guess the other alternative is I could just make a dress. Maybe I'll do that. Then I have both my number 14s from My Favorite Things. I love these sweaters. I wear them all the time. They are just superwash merino held with a kid mohair and silk from Knitting for Olive. I love these, but the necks are way too wide. Look at this. This is how wide they are. This is the gauge. It's the right gauge, but this sits way too wide on me. So what I want to do, what I figure I have to do is I just have to crochet to bring the back of the neck in, because it just probably from here to here and just bring it in because it just sits. They're hard to wear. They just keep falling off my shoulders all the time, even when I'm wearing a t-shirt, and I don't find that enjoyable. But the last thing that I want to mend, and I know I'm going to do this immediately, is this is my twist and turn shawl. I don't know if anybody remembers this shawl. This was one of Stephen West's mystery knit-alongs in October. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. Twist and turns. I love this shawl. I really do. But I struggled so much with how to finish it off. And what I ended up doing is at the bottom of these braids, he left loops here. And I ended up making tassels and I hung tassels off these loops. Well, there's 5 of these loops, and as cute as my tassels were, love the idea, it made it very difficult to wear, because when I would wrap it around myself, I would have all these tassels hanging out. And it just didn't, it looked silly. It looked silly, honestly. So hence come the pink buttons. I am going to, isn't that a great idea? I am going to sew the buttons on, and I'm going to loop the loops around the buttons. And so I will have 5 beautiful pink buttons, all slightly different shades, to secure those loops so that they look finished. And then it will be a much more wearable shawl for me. I love this shawl. I think it's such a beautiful masterpiece. And yeah, and so then it won't just be sitting in my basket. It will actually be a garment that I can wear a lot. So I'm very chuffed about that. That is my mending in March. So that is it for this episode. Yay! Wonderful. So I look forward, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Leave comments. I love the comments, and hopefully I'll be able to respond to all of them. I do try. My goal for the next 2 weeks, obviously, is to get some of this knitting done. I have to finish this, but I look forward to focusing on some summer knits. Yay. Because, hey, let's face it, it's March. Spring is just around the corner, and really I don't have a lot in my spring summer wardrobe in terms of sweaters. I tend to knit all the warm, fuzzy, cozy knits and not so much of the summer ones. So I'm looking forward to having that focus for the next 2 weeks and sharing with you how far I get. So on that note, I will say thank you very much. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And I hope I kept you company while you crafted, and look forward to speaking to you the next time. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.